Welcome to This Week in Perfect Team. I see I'm cloned. There's two of me. Is one DRC enough, or would you like two? There we go. Now I'm down to just a solo version of myself. But we are This Week in Perfect Team, and I am your host, DRC. The mission of this show, the purpose, the raison d'etre for this show is to provide instant community feedback on all new content releases, and we just got a wonderful one tonight. And I think part of what makes this set wonderful is that it comes from the community. Every card you saw tonight was hand selected by a player, by a manager of Perfect Team 21. And I think that you saw a lot of the evidence of that in the choices that were made. We saw a lot of profiles that play well in the Out of the Park engine, and we'll be talking about all of that tonight. So with me tonight is your kidneys, the keeper of the sheet, the winner of the Community Contribution of the Year Award in PT21. How are you doing tonight, your kidneys?
I am doing excellent. We just got some really cool content from the PTCS winners. I think that's such a cool thing that people get to create their own cards after proving themselves in this game as one of the best. So shout out to them for putting out some amazing stuff.
Nice indeed. So we've got an incredible show for you tonight. We're not just going to talk about cards. We are going to start there. But over the course of the evening, we are also going to play some games for our PTCS winners. You'll see what that is as we go. We've also got two more scavenger hunts for you tonight. So last week, we had two opportunities for someone to do a little research, turn up an answer, and then find 10,000 perfect points in their Perfect Team 22 balance the next day upon being the first to come to that answer. So we'll have two more scavenger hunts for you tonight. Make sure you are ready for that. We're going to have a 10,000 perfect point drawing. In case you don't want to participate in the scavenger hunt, you still will have a chance to win some points. We're going to play OK Boomer, OK Zoomer, and tonight's theme is baseball video games, so you're not going to want to miss me standing for baseball stars and Mr. Kidneys over here trying to inflate up backyard baseball or something like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cap the show with what we see as the 10 most common mistakes that people make in Perfect Team. So you'll want to stick around for that as well. Before we jump in, a reminder of the broadcast schedule so you can catch us here Thursdays for This Week in Perfect Team. If this is your first time joining us, please do click the follow button, click the notifications so you know when we go live. As a rite of habit, we'll be coming on right after Chris. And then on Sunday, I normally do the Perfect League broadcast, but starting Sunday, because there is no Perfect League in PT22, we are going to do a separate program called Practice Makes Perfect League, in which we are looking at the generated statistics from the ladder games that are happening as we speak today. And we can start to see which players are emerging and which cards are becoming those that you want to go seek out and add to your team. So all that out of the way, it's time to jump in, and we will jump in with JRonk99. So these next four cards come to you from JRonk99. If you're on Discord, you can find him by searching out the Florida Marlins logo. I'm guessing there aren't any other people rocking that today. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's JRonk's game. And he picked out some really interesting cards for us tonight, cards that I'm really excited about. And this is one, maybe the single one that has me scratching my head the most about trying to place whether it can fit into the meta. And so, meta, let's go ahead and pop it up.
Attention, it's meta.
So what is meta? Meta is really, can it play when contextualized against the other cards that it has to compete with and be used and be chosen to be used above those other ones? And so this is a bronze card, which means we're contextualizing against bronze tournaments. So if you've never played tournaments before, you need to start. It's the absolute best way to get to kickstart your game economy and get the perfect points flowing. And bronze is not a bad entry point to do so. And so we're talking about bronze here with Billy Southworth. Now the challenge for Billy is that corner outfield in bronze is already crowded. We've got some bats. We've got some really great base runners. What we don't have is some glove work, although it's questionable how important corner outfield glove work is. So that'll be a question here. But as we look at this profile, we've got a platoon lefty. And what we mean when we say that is he's going to be significantly better versus one-handedness than the other. All of his rates significantly better versus right-hand pitching. And so you're going to want to deploy him versus right-hand starters and then sit him versus left and have him off the bench as a pinch hitter as needed. And his profile is extremely unique in that his avoid Ks is off the chart, meaning that he's not going to strike out. However, the contact isn't necessarily super high and the power is kind of high, which means that Kidneys is about to lecture us about BABIP. Kidneys, that's your cue.
Oh, man. So Billy Southworth, I'm assuming J-Ronk picked him because he was a fantastic card and a really interesting card in Perfect Team 21 as a silver card, which was J-Ronk's prowess as a good friend of him. This card is really interesting to me, but I don't think it quite makes the cut. Part of that reason is the BABIP. So what this means is that we got a card with decent contact, decent power, but very high avoid K. And that is where we break into what contact is. Contact is a combination of three things. It's power, Ks, and BABIP. So when the power and the Ks are high, the BABIP is going to be low. BABIP means how often when you hit the ball, it goes in play for an actual hit and you get on base. So the problem with this card is that's going to happen pretty uncommonly. It's got about a 40 BABIP, which is pretty low. You want your rating to be over 50. If you're curious more things about BABIP, you can always DM me. I love to talk about it. It's on the sheet too. If we can throw the sheet up in the chat. Thanks, Dish, for adding that as a command. So it's got decent base running. It's actually really good defense for Bronze right now. We've seen it seems like overall really incorporates Bronze defense and Iron defense a lot better than it did in previous years. So this is a top-end defensive right fielder, but I don't think the bat is good enough even in a platoon to see play.
I really want to see what types of stats this card generates. Because we know it's going to have a decent average just simply by virtue of the fact that it's never striking out. And then combined with the fact that it's going to walk a good bit, so the I of 47 on the strong side there. And then the powers is going to put the ball over the fence a good bit too. So I'm really curious how this one suss's out in the numbers. Like if we can get an average that is close to 270, and maybe I'm getting greedy, 280, if we can land there, then between the slugging that's coming by virtue of the gap power, the power over the fence, as well as the eye, we probably land in a pretty good spot.
So a few notes. The Bendex, if we want to throw that up there. If you're here from last week, the Bendex is going to be my personal overall rating. It's different between hitters and pitcher. Bendex has totally changed. I reformatted. I did a lot of work over the past week collecting 21 data. It is very different now. So don't compare to last week. Just compare it. All these cards will be on the sheet at the end of the show and compare it to other cards on the sheet. 59 is pretty low. It's one of the lower ones we're going to see tonight. Really, the issue is DRC is talking about hoping this can be a contact hitter. With 40 BABIP, I just don't see it able to happen.
We shall see. But for now, I want to call out Chuck, gifting 5 subscriptions to the channel. So thanks so much for the support, Chuck. I'm sure I missed in the block of text a number of others as well. So thank you guys, as always, for the support. We move on to Dick Grote. And as Chris was pointing out on his stream, just a wild profile here. Contact crazed, I'd almost call it, and power starved. Now, this is the euphoric profile for PT21. But here in PT22, we have been told that we are making power great again. So if power is great again, then a card like this might fall a little bit further down in the meta. And as we look at deploying a card like this, definitely better versus left-hand pitching, but left-hand pitching is a minority of the games that are started. So this card is kind of set up to be what's called a short side platoon. And when you have a short side platoon player, oftentimes they're going to be used as a backup on the strong side versus right-hand pitching. And given that he can only back up shortstop and not necessarily back it up well, I'm excited about the bat here, but I really question whether this is a glove that really belongs anywhere on the diamond. What do you think?
So I think the question we have to ask here is, what is defense worth? And it's not a question I have the knowledge to answer, but as we know, going into Perfect Team 22, there were a lot of changes to how range and defense in general was addressed. And we may be at the point where this card is definitely worth experimenting at shortstop, something you'd never even consider last year, obviously for silver tournaments. But I think regardless of whether this card can play at shortstop, the bat is so good VL that I think he is a must run at DH in silver. Whether that's full time, because I do think he hits right-handed pitching fairly well, or if that's just V left and you play him in a platoon, I think this card is going to be certainly good enough to be played in the meta. Also, because of that super low power is going to give him a super high BABIP. I have this card as hitting 290 in league play right now, not even in a silver tournament.
Oh, wow.
So I think this card is phenomenal.
So as far as what to expect here, very high batting average. The gap power is going to turn a good number of those singles into doubles and triples. The eye is not horrible, so you're probably looking at a triple slash line well into the 300s on average. Not going to boost too much from there with the OBP. The slugging might even creep into 400 with all of those doubles you get there. So definitely an interesting card. Moving on, we've got Herb Pennock. And with Herb Pennock, we've got a left-handed starting pitcher, one that is really trying to make it work with a control-heavy profile. Somewhat low on the stuff, 56 and 57 respectively. Somewhat low on the movement, 51 and 49. That 49 being exposed to the majority of the hitters that he'll face in his starting lineup. So I question how viable Herb Pennock would be in a silver tournament rotation. What do you think?
I have a slight issue with Herb Pennock, is that there is a bronze card. Again, do remember the Bendex is reformatted. This should be, so I know people in the chat are talking, oh, you're going to change it again. It should be the last time it's changed for hitters. The way it works with pitching is it has to be a live rating. So it is going to adjust every week depending on what cards are added into the meta. It's just how it is. I couldn't do it another way. At least I couldn't figure it out. I'm not the best math person. The thing with Herb Pennock is there is a bronze card, and I think, it's Ed Lynch, who is just this card's profile, but I think he's even a little bit better. And so I'm a little confused where the 76 is coming from on this card. Maybe it's in the hold runners, which is not the most important thing in the world. And I think overall, not going to make the cut for a silver tournament.
Oh, and this is J-Ronk's second to last card, which means we're playing a surprise game. I wish I had a little theme song to bust out here, but given that all of these cards were coming from the community, I wanted to make as a big part of this show here tonight an ode to those players. Give them an opportunity to share with us a little bit about themselves. And the format that we landed on was 2 truths and a lie. So I'm going to share with Kidneys 2 true facts about J-Ronk99 and 1 lie. And Kidneys' goal will be to suss out which one is the lie. So let's jump to it. All right, 3 facts about J-Ronk. Well, 2 facts and a lie. You have to pick out the lie. First one, he frequently faced Jesus Luzardo in travel ball. Second, his favorite player growing up was Albert Pujols. Third, he was at the game where Roy Halladay threw a no-hitter against the Marlins in 2010. Now, which of those 3 facts is not a fact?
So I know J-Ronk pretty well. I'd consider him a good friend of mine. I knew he grew up in the Florida area, so I don't feel like it's 3. But I don't know. I don't know where Jesus Luzardo comes from, but I'm going to call that as the lie because I also feel like he grew up at the time where Pujols was the best player in the game.
Well, your logic was not bad, but you landed on the wrong answer. So, in fact, Albert Pujols is his favorite player. But he did face Jesus Luzardo in travel ball. The fact that was not true is that he was not at the game where Roy Halladay threw a no-hitter against the Marlins. He went to the game the day after. So,
unfortunate.
Thank you for playing Kidneys. There's only 4 more of those to come. Next up, after Herb Pennock, we've got Miggy Cabrera. Man, Miggy gives me a little PTSD when thinking about the 2003 NLCS, but we'll try to soldier on through here. And now with Miggy, you've got a third base card, so third base only. Many of us know Miggy now as a DH or a first baseman. This card is just a third base card, and it's not a very good defensively one. So this card's going to have to hit. It's a high gold, and it's going to need to mash to make you feel comfortable either DHing it or putting it out there defensively. And it's an odd card in that it's got reverse splits. So when we say a card has reverse splits, when we say a right-handed batter has reverse splits, we mean that their backup card ratings and metrics are better versus the same side hand than the offhand. So Miggy Cabrera, a right-handed batter, has 87 contact, 7 more than his left side, and then 8 more avoid Ks versus right. So is that enough to make Miggy playable in gold tourneys?
I don't think so. I think because to start, we've already got some crazy SE gold cards. And this card isn't terrible. It's going to hit for a ton of contact because of that low avoid K and the lower power. When it's on base, isn't terrible. It's got 60i, but overall, it's a card that I would like to see just be a little bit better at what it does, maybe a little better defensively, or it could play first base or something. But there's so many good gold hitters right now that I just don't think it fits in.
Yeah, and this card comps pretty well to John Jaha. One thing that we haven't talked about yet tonight is what it is that's lying on the right side of your screen here. And this is all of the cards in the known out of the park perfect team universe, which ones are the most similar? And we look at it from 3 different slices. From the overall backup card ratings, which line up right here. We look at it from the versus left ratings, which line up right here. And then the versus right ratings. And you see John Jaha line up in all 3 of these. And I think that with Miggy, you've got a better version of Jaha here, as he's going to be better with the contact versus right. And I focus on the versus right profile here because that's really, if you're playing this Miggy, you're going to be playing it every day. And he's outperforming Jaha there in a couple of key categories, including the lower power, which is actually going to help his BABIP. So I think there's a comp for you if you want one, but I share Kidney's concern about this card not being viable. Oh, and we've got our first 10,000 perfect point scavenger hunt. It says number 2 on there, but trust me, this is the first one. So let us pull up the details. Pencils ready. Baseball Reference ready. All right, so as I mentioned, Miggy Cabrera was an absolute terror from just about the moment that he got into baseball. An incredible hitter. He was 20 years old when he was launching fly balls into the Wrigley Field bleachers as a rookie. Now, he hit a home run in Game 1 of that NLCS. And then immediately afterward, a teammate went back-to-back with him. Who was that teammate? First person in the chat wins 10,000 perfect points. Who was Miguel's Cabrera that he went back-to-back homers with against the Cubs in 2003? This is a hard one. Mike Lowell did hit a home run, and that Dogberry's got it. Dogberry's got it. It's Juan Encarnacion. I see a lot of bets in here. I see a lot of different names in here. But it is Juan Encarnacion. Mike Lowell did go deep in that game, but it wasn't until, I believe, the 10th inning. So Dogberry, go ahead, DM me your perfect team username with the correct capitalization, and then we'll get you those perfect points. Congrats on sussing that one out, whether you did it via research or whether you threw out a wild guess. Either way, you're the winner for the first scavenger hunt tonight. We move on. We've got Mike Devereaux, presented by Johnny Shaka. You see his Discord logo up in the top of your screen. What do you think of this Mike Devereaux card?
I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's got a lot of V left stats here for a silver card, but its V right is so weak. And right's the dominant side, and then it's only got stock center, but it's really bad at center, so it's a DH. And I don't think it's good enough to be a VL DH in silver, especially with that Dick Groat card just coming out right now. I think it's not really a competition between the two. So I just think this card, while not terrible VL with its little bird profile it's got going, is just going to be outshadowed now.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. This is what we call a bird profile. Bird profile being the power, being the dominant trait on a card, which historically has not resulted in the best perfect team production. Now, one of the things that we're going to be looking at on my show on Sunday on the main Out of the Park Twitch channel is how well bird profiles are doing in the early going. That'll be one thing that we're looking, as we know that it was a stated goal of Out of the Park to make power great again in this version of the game. On the Bendex, we've got a 57 here, one of the lower numbers of all of the cards we're showing tonight. So again, don't rush out and drop a ton of perfect points on Mike Devereaux. Next, we've got Deion Sanders. We've got another platoon bat here, and one that carries stock defense in all three outfield positions. As people are building tournament rosters, we are learning just how important stock defense is going to be and just how important flexibility is going to be in this year's version. Same can be said for main leagues, because our ability to train all around the planet is no longer intact. So with Deion Sanders, we've got a platoon bat here, but one that's not necessarily sticking out as a card that I think is going to hit a ton, or one that's sticking out thinking that it's going to be a great defender, or that I even think is going to be too elite of a base runner because of the relationship between speed and stealing. So Kidneys, why don't you talk about this card and start us off by explaining the difference between speed and stealing and how that equates to perfect team success?
I would love to. So how speed, stealing, base running works is speed is how often you attempt the extra base or you attempt the stolen base. Stealing is your success rate on stolen bases. Base running is your success rate on extra bases. The reason why you don't want your speed to be higher than your stealing, because then you attempt more steals than you are capable of pulling off. So the problem with this card is that speed is a whole 10 points higher than the stealing, when you actually want it to be about 10 points lower than the stealing. So this card's going to get caught in the base path a ton. You're going to have to turn his sliders all the way down, and it's pretty much going to eliminate that entire asset of the card. Now, defensively, he's really cool that he has all three outfield positions, which is a big benefit right now with the changes to training. The issue is he's not particularly great at either of them, or all of them. The contact's okay, but again, gold cards look really, really, really nice this year, and this one as a low gold doesn't really blow me out of the water. I think wait till next year puts it best when he asks, why not is 79.
So one of the cards from Perfect Team 21 that really exhibited the speed over stealing being problematic was a shortstop by the name of Pop Lloyd, who had an absolutely incredible base running metric, but because his speed was so much higher than his stealing, because his base running aggressiveness was so much higher than his base running efficacy, most people at the highest levels ended up turning down his stealing all the way because it was a net negative with all of the caught stealings that he would run into. Just as an anecdote. All right, we Bendex of 61 on this one, so slightly higher than the last card that we had. But again, due to the points Kidneys made and some of the concerns about the base running and lack of defense here, not a card we prioritize for you. Uh-oh, but it is our second perfect point scavenger hunt. What is the deal with Deion Sanders? Okay, so the first person who can put into the chat what three professional sports teams drafted Deion Sanders will win 10,000 perfect points. What three teams? Put it all in the same answer, because you might get lost in the shuffle here. Reds, Yankees, Raiders, no. Kidneys, is this one that you know?
Sorry, I'm going to say something after this before we get to the next
believe
part.
I've got Dishnet as the first one on it. Royals, Yankees, and Falcons is correct. Let me see if anyone above him got it. Oh, Yankees, Royals, Falcons. Beckdog. Sorry, Dish. Looks like you just got beat. Unless someone beats you above there. Let's see. Royals. Nope. I believe Beckdog is our winner. So, Beckdog, the way to get 10,000 perfect points is to message me on Discord with your perfect team username with the appropriate capitalization, and then you should have 10,000 perfect points waiting for you when you wake up tomorrow morning to go ahead and do what you want with it.
All right, so this is probably the fourth or fifth time I'm hearing this right now, but guys, just because I am saying a card does not play in the game does not mean it's a bad card, or B, you need to go message Chris Jardine saying that your cards suck, make better cards. This is a card game. A, not every card can be good. B, learn how to play the card game. And stop complaining to management that a guy who's put months into his content plan and you're just ripping it apart after seeing a little tiny piece of it. And if you think that I don't like Chris or I don't like his content plan, then you don't know me at all, okay? So drop it. I don't want to hear that again, all right? Thank you.
I like it. Kidneys with a little fire tonight. We could always use our kidneys with a little heat. Thanks to CR Buke subscribing in the channel. Really appreciate it, man. Love the support. Moving on, we've got Sean Green, another platoon corner outfielder. This one coming with stock defense. And I saw the question earlier. Someone asked, what does stock defense mean? It means defense that is just on your card, not that you have to train into. It's just there. When you buy the card off the shelf, it's coming with stock defense at multiple positions. Well, that is not the case with this one. This one's coming only with right field. And the right field rating is not bad. It's 55. However, dig a little deeper. This is a right fielder with a terrible arm. Not a great combo. It's a right fielder with the fringy range, and it's really driven. The position rating is driven by a high error rate, which in the outfield isn't all that applicable because the outfielders are not making a ton of errors in a given year, even when they're poor defenders. So it's not a card that's really jumping off the page for you defensively. Pretty decent base runner. Not going to be someone that pops off the page there, but someone who's not going to be a net negative. But we are going to need the bat to really carry this profile. And this profile here, I didn't put the bird icon on it, but I could have because we do have a power dominant profile versus right with 81 being the highest metric there. And I just don't know in a gold setting if this card's really going to stand out.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the issue. The bat is just a little bit too low for my liking. It's got great base running and pretty good defense as well for just like a gold tourney, but it's a one-way bat, and I just think it's a little underwhelming with kind of a silent bird coming out there almost. So I'm not super a fan of Sean Green. I don't think it's going to see play. I think we're seeing a lot now, actually, with kind of the changes to overall. I know some people have been memeing just take the highest overall card in perfect draft to win. It's actually a lot better than it used to be, and I think that Sean Green being an 83 is kind of a good representation of this. So I'm not a super fan of this card, but it does have some nice base running, which I like.
62 on the Bendex as we move on to Whitey Kurowski. Another card presented to us by Johnny Shaka. And this one is pretty interesting. It's a third base card, and one that, as we look first at the defensive ratings here, is not going to be out in the field for his glove. And this is a high diamond as well. So we've talked at length throughout this broadcast about bronze tournaments, silver tournaments, gold tournaments. This is a card that really needs to be playing in high-level main league play to be relevant because it's a 96. It can't even play in the low diamond tournaments. So really the bar is a lot higher as we're contextualizing this card versus what we've already talked about tonight. And so as we look at the ratings here, we are a little underwhelmed. For a high diamond card to be rocking a bird profile, you see it hanging out perched right above the first name here. Bird profile with the 99 power being the most standout of all the metrics here, but the rest of it just doesn't really pop as a card that's going to be one that you want to put in your DH spot. And with a defensive profile like that, that's where he belongs.
Yeah, I just went from praising the overall rating to being a little confused. I'm not super into this card pretty much anywhere. The hitting profile is not great. It's pretty slow, and the defense isn't good either. It's also not a 94 or lower, so it doesn't have a chance to shine in those new lower diamond tournaments. Not that I'm sure it would play there either. It's a pretty weak showing from Whitey. Maybe next year.
Wait till next year.
Yes.
Oh, time for 2 truths and a lie for Johnny Shaka. All right, kidneys, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Johnny Shaka was a nickname given to him 25 years ago by a men's league baseball team. Second, the Huntsville Sluggers, his PT 21 team name, was the name of his childhood Little League baseball team. And then third, he went to elementary school with Alanis Morissette.
Does that come with a clarification of who that is?
Oh no. Okay, Zoomer. Oh no. Oh, right. Well, she was an absolutely huge musician in the 90s. Yeah, wow. We really should have used her last season on OK Boomer, OK Zoomer, but she was about as big as they got for a good period in the 90s.
I like what Dan Brothers said. Oh my God, young people are so young. I'm gonna go with the what was it? Elementary school. I'm gonna go with that as the lie. I think. Oh wait, 25 years. Yeah, 25 years. Oh, it wouldn't line up. Okay, no, I'm going with the nickname as the lie because it doesn't line up with the elementary school one.
Okay, well, Alanis Morissette, older than you think, apparently, because the lie on this one was the Huntsville Sluggers being the name of his childhood Little League team. That is not true, and you are 0 for 2, my friend.
Unfortunate. I'll get one. I have to get one right? That's how statistics work. 1 for 4.
You're the math guy.
Yep.
All right, next we've got Mo Berg. About as interesting as an iron card can be. We've got a catcher here, and I don't know iron defense enough to know whether this is defense to get excited about the iron level or defense that is better left untouched here. But we have a card with a very high avoid K, almost rocking that Dick Groat type shape of his profile here, at least until you get to the contact end where the contact is a little bit on the low end. Is Mo Berg a catcher that people need to prioritize at the iron level?
No. But is he a bad catcher? No.
You're going to sit on the fence on this one.
Yeah, I'm really torn because I really love that bat profile. I love it. Maybe a little bit more gapper eye, but this is about as good as it gets for the kind of high contact hitting iron hitter. But really, the catcher ability is also low. And I love me some catcher ability. So I'm really torn. He's also a 56, so he doesn't really stand out for a cap tournament. So I'm not really sure exactly where to sit on this card. I think the bat is good, but the defense is not.
Bat is good, but the defense is not. Bendex on this one of a 46. I think let's see this card run a little bit before we write the final story on it. This could end up being a catcher that's in play.
Sure. I think the only problem is right now, and this could change very quickly because I love Elise Sanchez, but Elise Sanchez is an iron and he's got 80 catcher ability, so that's really the big deal for me here.
Yep. We've got Jason Conti next, and we have moved into Aster 31's collection set. I don't know if I called that out earlier, but we are into that collection set, and we've got a center field card that's probably more of a corner card when you think about it, because the center field defense is not off the charts here. It does come with stock defense at all 3 positions, which is always nice for flexibility. But I'm just looking for this contact profile to say something that I like to hear. We've got contact below 50, avoid K below 50, really gap power are the only thing standing out. Given how competitive the corner outfield scene is right now, I see no room for Jason Conti.
Yeah. He's got all... No, he doesn't. He's just kind of worse than Kyle Lewis. I really like Kyle Lewis as a bronze center fielder right now. I ran him in the John McGraw, the Tuesday Iron tournament. I forget who... Oh, Johnny Shaka's tournament, right. And Kyle Lewis hits dingers and plays defense and can run a little bit. And this card doesn't really have any of that. So it gets a no from me.
It's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, Kyle Lewis is an iron. I agree, but I play him in a bronze tournament because he's really good. Card hits dingers.
What's Kyle Lewis's range?
He's about 80. He's listed as a right fielder, but he's got like 80 defense in center field. So, yes, sir.
We move on. We've got Marv Throneberry, and we've got a little bit of a bird profile sneaking out here. Power dominant on both sides. For versus right and versus left. A first base only card. And in bronze right now, we've got some first basemen who are really hitting it. We've got Rowdy Tellez, who's not doing bad there. We've got Pavin Smith, if you want a lefty. We've got Alec Baum and Ryan Mountcastle for righties. Yuli Gurriel. Like, it's a very competitive position to really jump into. And I don't think this profile is anywhere near enough to do it. What do you think?
Hit the nail on the head, but you forgot my favorite name, Carl Taylor, which you could play in the outfield too. But Carl Taylor is an absolute monster right now in bronze. And this card just doesn't make the cut. Like you listed all those names. It's an absolutely stacked position right now for bronze first base. So many of those cards that have really high power that are actually doing pretty well. I'm sure you'll go into that more on your show on Sunday. So excited to hear that.
Perfect. That's Marv Throneberry. He comes in with a Bendex score of 53, and we are not endorsing this one. We have not played the meta soundbite nearly as much as I thought we would. I think we missed our opportunity on the Dick Groat card, but we'll catch one up coming up here soon. And it might just be here with Jose Oquendo, a second baseman on the Cardinals from my era, an OK Boomer second baseman. And this is an interesting card. This is a card that carries stock defense in all infield positions, which for my money is a little bit more valuable than being able to say the same for the outfield positions, because your infielders are going to tire out quicker and you're going to need that flexibility. And that flexibility coming in a package like this, which is a switch hitter, which is automatically going to give you a little boost on the back of card ratings that you're observing here, because he's never facing a same-sided pitching handedness advantage. And then the other thing to point out here is, yes, the infield error is what's driving the defensive profile here. Don't sleep on the importance of infield error this year. Some of the early numbers we're seeing coming out of bronze indicates that that the error rating is not what it used to be, that the Luke Appling effect of last year might not necessarily be quite the same this year. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And so if you're deploying Jose Oquendo in, say, a short side platoon role, meaning we're going to start him versus left-hand pitching and then versus right-hand pitching, we are going to have him back up all three infield positions. That seems like a pretty compelling use case for Oquendo. I'm a little on the fence on it, but we haven't hit the button enough, so I'm going to hit it now.
Attention, it's meta.
What do you think, Kidneys?
I didn't know this was a switch hitter. Totally lack of prep on my part. This card is a lot better than I thought it was because it's a switch hitter. I think this card is good enough to play defense at third base as maybe your VL third baseman option right now. I think this card's got a really, really, really good bat. He's going to rock the on-base percentage VR and the contact VL, and then the utility of being able to be played around the infield. The only complaint I have with this card is that Luis Arias exists right now, and Arias is a monster and probably will be promoted to silver very soon. I'm almost hoping for that because I think he's too good. So I think I think this card is good and probably going to be around the meta for quite some time.
Yeah, but if you've got Arias locked into your VR second base slot, that doesn't preclude you from having Oquendo as part of your team mix. Like you would never start Oquendo.
It doesn't prevent you, but Arias plays both ways 100% every day. He is too good to take off your team right now. And he's got the second base and utility as well. That's just why I was comparing the two, I think.
Roger that. 2 truths and a lie time for Aster 31. Kidneys 0 for 2 so far. Can he get out of the slump right here? So Aster 31 has provided the following. He followed up. Let's get a drop of beat here. It's always better with a little music. So Aster 31 followed up his PTCS summer victory by losing in the first or second round of all 3 PTCS winter qualifiers. Second, he once played golf with Willie Mays. Third, His PTCS win was largely fueled by Connor Joe hitting over 400 for the tournament. Spot the lie.
I'm going to go with the golf with Willie Mays. I believe I remember he did exit in the first round of all the others. And considering he played a cap tournament, Connor Joe had a 40 cap card, which was unusual for a hitter last year. So I'm going to say he actually had Connor Joe on his team.
So is that final answer? You are going with the Willie Mays?
Yes, sir.
Well, you are correct, and you are out of the doghouse there. He didn't play golf with Willie Mays. He played golf with Hank Aaron.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so make sure you ask Aster31 about that. We move on from Aster's collections, and we move on to Seagram 99's collections, and we start with Ray Fosse. Ray Fosse, a catcher card, and not a bad-looking one either. A card that looks like it's going to hit both ways. And with catchers are often not able to adhere to the traditional platoon. So if you've got a lefty catcher and a righty catcher and you think, great, my lefty's going to play against righties and my righty's going to play against lefties, it doesn't work out that way because catchers get fatigued quicker. So your righty catcher who's sitting there on your VL lineup is going to come in very frequently in relief and in substitution of your lefty catcher that is in your VR lineup. And so because of that, it's not a bad idea to have a catcher who can hold his own versus right-hand pitching. And it looks like Fosse, at least at the silver level, has a chance of that. Now, I don't know the catcher defense options in silver aside from the live cards, but I know the live cards are pretty darn dynamic. And they could just be a death knell for Fosse here. What do you think?
So there is a card, and I don't remember the name of it, but I take it every time in Perfect Draft when I see it. There is a historical silver with about maybe 90 catcher ability, and then both Hedges and Perez have 100 right now as live diamond, as live silver catchers rather. So I think for that reason alone, this card isn't meta. The bat is very good, yes, but if you're a newer player and you're wondering why I'm saying the good hitting catcher is not a good player, and you're playing Jorge Posada in your rookie league, I would highly recommend you to reconsider. Catcher ability directly affects the K percent and walk percent of pitchers and is probably the most single important stat in all of Out of the Park right now. And just able to get that huge extra edge on your pitchers is really, really important. So right now the meta is purely defensive catchers. For reference, I am playing in open tournaments and doing pretty respectably, and I am playing silver catchers with high catcher ability. So it's totally worth the loss of the bat to get those guys in your lineup.
So who can be first in the chat with what Ray Fosse is arguably best known for? What huge moment on a huge stage did Ray Fosse... There it is. Hero Driver 68 has it first. So Pete Rose. We all know that Pete Rose played hard. We all know that he racked up over 4,000 hits. Charlie Hustle's the nickname. There's pictures everywhere of him flying into third base, completely parallel to the ground, 3 feet off of it. Just an absolutely crazed player. And he was not able to turn that off in the 1970 Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which was a win for Pete Rose's team. But there was some collateral damage. Ray Fosse found himself on the business end of Pete Rose as he was coming in to score. And you can watch it here on tonight's This Weekend Perfect Team multimedia moment.
And right into the stretch, looking back and throws up the middle. Rose is on his way around, picked up by Otis. Rose is coming to the plate, throws the throw. He's in. It's all over.
So that's an all-star game where you have a collision at the plate, something you'd absolutely never see today. And Ray Fosse didn't necessarily get out unscathed. He separated his shoulder there, had lasting impacts. Definitely something that is not forgotten, but a very memorable moment.
That's pretty dirty. I think Pete Rose is like kind of undersold as one of the best baseball players of all time because he was such a jerk to people. But man, that's just wrong.
We move on to Buddy Bell, another selection from Seagram 99, and this one's got a very good looking profile in terms of the shape of the batting ratings. And what I mean by that is you have a high contact, you have a high avoid K, and then a relatively low power, which is going to inflate that BABIP metric that we've been talking about all evening long. Now, to tap into it best, you're going to need to do it in that short side platoon that we've also been talking about a good bit, which oftentimes does make sense depending on your roster construction at the third base hot corner. Now, with this card, you're getting pretty okay defense as well. So, okay range, real strong arm, which plays up at third base. The low turn double play doesn't hurt you much. So, this Buddy Bell card's pretty interesting to me. What do you think?
So I think it's just short in a diamond tournament because Lave Cross is a card, and Lave Cross is absolutely insane. Probably one of the best deals on the market right now. And then I'm looking for low diamonds that I like, maybe better than this card, and I see there's a future legend Josh Jung that pops out to me. It's a bit worse defensively, but a little bit better bat, and probably a few others. I think this card is certainly legit competition for third base in a low diamond tournament. I wouldn't play him in league play. I think there's better options for pretty cheap right now, such as the Pendleton and the Nomar cards, but it's certainly a good card for low diamond.
Bendex score on this one of 65. And what is Lave Cross rated?
On the Bendex?
No. I mean, you can give me the Bendex score too, but what is the card rated?
Lave Cross is a 96.
Okay.
And on Bendex, wait, we just disappeared. Oh, there he is. He's a 72, so quite a bit better. Remember, Bendex is hitting only, not defense, so Lave Cross is a bit worse of a fielder, but a much better hitter.
Very good. 65 on the Bendex for Buddy Bell as we move on to Joe McGinnity. And I'm going to pop up the Bendex first on this. It's an 88. And that kind of struck me and made me think that maybe I am personally underselling movement a touch here because we have a card that's really on the low end of stuff and control is not anything to write home about. So why does this one rate so well in the Bendex system?
So right now this year, it seems movement is increased in its importance because power is increased in importance and movement counters power. So it's really movement and control ruling the world right now. You can get by if you have a crazy amount of stuff like an Aroldis Chapman is crazy good right now, but really the pitchers that are going to dominate the meta, that aren't like, this 100 special edition cards, right, are going to be stuff like your Greg Maddux, like your Mel Harder, Bob Carruthers has that profile. There's a whole bunch of guys with the low, high profile. Max Fire, not quite, but it's close to that. And so I think right now movement is extremely important. I think this card is pretty good on a budget. That's what I would say. On a budget, this card is pretty reasonable.
So look for that Joe McGinnity card. We'll go ahead and play the meta for it. I don't want to
Attention, it's meta.
Now we've got Joe Kelly, and something tells me we're going to be pressing that button here again in a second because this card is just slathered in blue. Blue ratings as far as the eye can see, from the outfield error to the base running, and then on both sides of the hitting profile. One that is almost mirrored versus right and versus left. Now, given that it is a right-handed hitter, it will play up versus left-hand pitching, play down a little bit versus right-hand pitching, so we don't expect completely neutral performance, but as far as back-of-card ratings, it's as close as we can get to neutral here. It's also a card that comes with stock defense in 3 different spots, and so that is absolutely valuable, and with the context of this card, we are talking main league play. It's a 99 rated card. It absolutely is at the table of outfield options, especially right-handed outfield options in the game right now. So what do you think of Joe Kelly?
This is by far the best non-special edition hitter in the game right now. I don't even think it's close between him and Al Rosen. This is going to be your left fielder or your first baseman, depending on who else is on your team. You're going to be dying to get your hands on this card. This card absolutely rakes. My projections for him have him around 270, 360 on base with about a 760 on base plus slugging, a 3.6 WOBA. I mean, all sorts of great numbers on this card.
But what about Hack Wilson? You love Hack Wilson.
Well, we can talk more about Hack Wilson later. Hack Wilson, no bueno.
So Joe Kelly, we'll go ahead and give him the meta depth as well. So definitely a card that you pull this one, he's going to be able to perform well in your lineup, and he's also going to sell for a pretty penny in the auction house as other teams will be looking to get their hands on this one. I mean, just look at the similarity score table. The most similar scored cards to these are so much worse. There's so much green in this table, it's almost ridiculous. So this is definitely an overstated card for the time being as we watch the power creep cycle happen for this game, but definitely be on the lookout for a left field Joe Kelly card. Oh, time for two truths and a lie for Seagram. Are you ready, kidneys?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right. Which one of these is false? Seagram 99 is from Cartier, Canada. Bob Feller once accused Seagram 99 of taking advantage of him. And Seagram 99 wore his PTCS belt to a coffee shop. Which one is the lie?
I'm going to go with the Bob Feller one. It's weird, but his team name is the Cartier Cutthroats, so I feel like he's actually from Cartier. And wearing your belt to a coffee shop is just such an amazing level of swag that I really, really hope it's true.
Well, the lie on this one is that he is not from Cartier, Canada.
Wow.
I don't know if Cartier, Canada is a place. It might be, it might not be, but Cartier is actually a reference to watches as far as his team name is concerned. Bob Feller, and you can get the story from the horse's mouth here, but he was actually at a conference getting autographs signed from Bob Feller and was racking up the quantity, and eventually Bob Feller drew the line and said, "Hey, you want another autograph? I need you to give me $1." And yes, Seagram 99 did wear his PTCS belt to a coffee shop.
Props to you, man. That is something amazing.
Swag.
I love it. Yes, sir.
We move on, and now we are into T-Rex versus, and his first card is an 80 gold Sean Figgins card that's coming with stock outfield defense. I wonder if this one's trainable in the infield because Figgins played it. It's a third base card. Look at the card art in the top left. It says third base card, and we have no stock ratings at third base.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask about this one. Hold on.
So Sean Figgins was known as a player who could play all over the place, and so it only makes sense that this card would be the same way. Sean Figgins here is a switch hitter as well. So all of those nice things we said about switch hitters a couple moments ago all apply here. But this card here, the profile and how it's built is not necessarily going to hit a ton. Its value would come directly from its ability to be versatile and be a roster stuffer and be a backup in multiple positions for when everyone's getting tired, as they seem to in this game more than last year's version, and also a pretty decent base runner, so maybe someone who can come in and run for a catcher if and when the moment calls for it later on in the game. What do you think of Figgins?
So apparently we have the wrong screenshot.
Uh-oh.
And he had a 69 third base rating with 68 range, 55 errors, 81 arm, and 61 turn double play. The speed is also different on the card. Actually, just about everything is different on the card. Is this the wrong ratings? Do you just have the wrong ratings, I think?
It kind of sounds like it. This Week in Perfect Team is canceled.
Yeah, let me send you the actual image here. You posted in the chat. Where are you? In my Discord.
All right. Well, everything I said about Figgins is wrong and bad. So, Kidneys, why don't you give us some good knowledge on Figgins?
All right, so I'll drop some knowledge on this card. This card's got good BABIP. It's got low K is high contact, low power. It's fast, but it's got the wrong stealing profile. It's too speed heavy. He has a 90 bunt for hit. Sean Figgins was electric. Loved watching him growing up. It's probably only a V-right card because the VL is pretty on the weak side. Defense is about middle of the range for third base. He's got good arm, decent range, lower on the error. I don't think this card is going to be meta in gold, but if you want something to throw on your team as a third baseman, Sean Figgins will do that for you. Probably wouldn't be terrible in a perfect draft either.
Figgins 63 on the Bendex. Is that accurate? Do you know?
It's probably not accurate. Oh no, it is accurate. It is accurate.
I mean, the Bendex reigns supreme. As long as the Bendex is right, we don't need anything else. The comps, the ratings, the outfield defense, the card art.
Oh, we got a what does BABIP mean in the chat? I went over this. So contact is fake. Everything you know about it is a lie. What happens is power and Ks combine with a stat called BABIP or a rating called BABIP to make contact. So the higher the contact, the lower the power in the Ks, the higher the BABIP, vice versa, all the different ways around. Basically, what it means is if a hitter has a higher BABIP, when they hit the ball, it's more likely to become a hit. That's how it works. Thank you for giving me an excuse to go on that tangent.
BABIP 101 from Kidneys. And we move on, and we've got Bip Roberts, and this one is my favorite card in the entire set. I love me some Bip Roberts, and it's not just for the card itself, but the card itself is great. So another switch hitter. We've had a ton of switch hitters tonight, and this one does really well offensively versus right-hand pitching, which is going to be the majority of plate appearances. It's a good base runner, even though we're kind of tempting fate here by being 4 points over on the speed versus stealing. I think that's going to be playable. Speaking of playable, this card's playable everywhere. Left field, center field, third base, second base. Definitely a very versatile card. So definitely one that has my attention. And the reason that I actually named this one my favorite, and I don't know if he was the inspiration or not, but when I was playing youth baseball many moons ago, there was an umpire that would umpire many of the games. And instead of saying strike three or you're out or making a screaming noise, his strikeout call was a loud boop. And it was in the South, it was in Georgia, and it was a ton of fun, and it was something to look forward to every baseball game. And at the time, Bip Roberts was at the peak of his powers. And so I'll always remember Bip, not only for his on-field contributions, but for the umpire inspired by him. What do you think of this card?
It was a good one. It's got a really nice contact profile. Like I explained earlier, low power, lower K, higher contact, better BABIP. This card has two of those things, which is normally good. It's a really killer versus right-handed pitching. It's not even going to be that bad versus left-handed pitching because it's a switch hitter. It's got 4-position utility, good base running, bad stealing, but that's okay. I think this card is going to be played in gold tournaments as a utility player, and it'll do pretty good at that.
I mean, for a short period of time, this card could do some damage in main league play too.
Absolutely. You could certainly use him as a utility player in main league as well.
Hero Driver 68's 15-year-old's about to umpire his first Little League game, and he's going to show him the stream to see if we can't get him carrying on the Bip tradition.
I love that sound effect. We need that on the soundboard.
Walter Johnson time, another card from T-Rex versus, and this one, the first thing I'm looking for is something resembling the face of the franchise, Walter Johnson, that we got last year. Now, obviously, we're not at that point in the game cycle, so that wouldn't make any sense. But seeing this card is a far cry from what that Walter Johnson looked like, as we have a stuff dominant profile here, similarly. But the control is just completely deficient in comparison. And because of that, I have questions about how playable this low diamond card is.
So the funny thing about this card is that it rates almost better as a hitter than it does as a pitcher.
Ooh.
Really mind-blowing. So as a hitter, he's rocking 54 void Ks, almost an 80 BABIP, and he's not a bad bat. So this is something that could be an interesting two-way, probably mainly in a cap or in perfect draft. Perfect draft, all about those two ways. But overall, we were talking earlier about how movement's really good, control's really good, stuff not so good. This card's got the inverse of that. The difference is when you play in perfect draft, you go against a lot of avoid K cards. And so I think this card is kind of one built for perfect draft almost. And I think he will be pretty good there as a diamond choice. And outside of that, probably not anything super special.
We've got T-Rex Versus in the chat saying he was hoping that this one would land at that 89 level. Why not an 89? We move on. And we've got Tony Mullane, 100, the only perfect card of the set that we got tonight. Kidneys 87 on your Bendex. What do you see with this card?
So the interesting thing about this card is that the Joe McGinty from earlier, the 97, actually comes out a little bit better. The difference with this card is it's two-way. It has 3 positions on it, and it can hit a little bit. It can hit the ball a little bit. So again, this is one of those cards that I think is really interesting for something like a cap format or a perfect draft. But I don't think it's a good enough pitcher to be thrown in league play.
Yeah, and I think
I do want to stress that. Sorry to cut you off, but I do want to stress the importance of positional rating now with the changes to training and perfect draft being played like a tournament. It's very important to get these extra depth players and utility guys on your team. So the fact that this guy can play 3 positions is really, really important for this card's utility going forward.
Yeah, we'll have to follow that, especially as we look at things like perfect draft, as you mentioned. Now, 2 truths and a lie for T-Rex Versus before we move on. Let's see what we've got here. All right. Let's get our beat ready. T-Rex Versus was his great-grandfather was one of the scientists to work on the atom bomb. He attended the Jacobs School of Music, or he had cornrows at one point in time. Spot the lie.
I'm going with cornrows. That's what I'm going with. I don't know why. I just feel like it's the odd one out.
That is incorrect. He did not attend the Jacobs School of Music. He did have cornrows, and his great-grandfather was one of the scientists to work on the atom bomb. So how'd you do? Was that 1 out of 5?
1 out of 5, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
not bad.
Pretty.
Not bad.
Not pretty.
That thank you to J-Ronk, Astro31, Seagram99, T-Rex Versus, Johnny Shaka. I thank you guys for playing along tonight, and congratulations for your incredible achievement last year. Hope you guys are enjoying the wrestling belts that you guys have. Take them to your coffee shops, and thank you for playing along tonight as we got to celebrate the contributions that you had for this year's game. And those contributions will continue via your tournaments that you guys have as well. All right, we move on. And so we've got our PTCS 21 Champions set. You see it all in front of you right now. We had Kidney's favorite, the Joe Kelly card. My favorite was the Bip Roberts card, but a number of good selections. I want to give 2 thumbs up to our content creators tonight, as they really did a great job bringing in a lot of talent into the game. Any parting thoughts on the content set, Kidneys?
No, I'm just really excited. I think this is a really cool tradition, hopefully, moving forward, of letting some of the players, who really earned it this year get to make some really cool cards. And I'm really interested to see what the next year have in store with the new winners. So really excited about this one. Thank you. We got a lot of the winners in the chat right now, so appreciate you guys showing up. You guys did an amazing job last year, and I hope to see amazing things out of you again this year.
Well said, and that is going to move us to everyone's favorite game show. Okay, Boomer, okay, Zoomer. A game show in which Kidneys and I battle. We battle for the honor to our respective eras. He is fighting for the 2010s. I am fighting for the 90s. And the topic for tonight, baseball video games. Kidneys, are you ready?
Ready to destroy you? Yes.
And the games that will be represented tonight are, for the 90s, Baseball Stars. For the 2010s, Backyard Baseball. And Kidneys had the option to defer. He had the option to go second. And he said, no thank you, DRC. I am batting leadoff tonight. So I will yield the floor. Let me get a beat for you. I will yield the floor to Kidneys. And why don't you tell us why Backyard Baseball was the thing?
I just want to preface, I worked more on this than I did the rest of the show, so I hope you enjoy it. All right. Backyard Baseball, the pinnacle of arcade and real life come together. I promise you, this time Kidneys will be quite a bit better. Built on the dreams of kids everywhere, I present the game that actually matters. Let me take you to the real Sandlot. Pablo Sanchez hits a drive. It's a dot. One without dogs as villains. Tell me what baseball stars you got. It's Pete Wheeler out here chillin'. You got music so goofy. Where the Mickey Mouse ears at? You've got graphics so loopy. Where the roller coaster rides at? We've got gameplay so slick. That's the only thing that matters. It's as good as M&M's. Just don't call me Marshall Mathers.
Oh! Kidneys! Doing it big! Kidneys for president. That was beautiful. It's going to be hard to follow that, but that is what we do in this game. So I will do my best. So why is Baseball Stars the greatest game ever? It was about customization. It was the first game where you could take it and make it your own. Did you want to be the 91 Cubs? Do you want to play as your neighborhood buds? You could. Do you want to progress your players? The first game with progression, you could make a player better, make him faster, make him hit the ball further, make him hit for a higher average. It was David versus Goliath. You didn't get to just take on the lovely ladies, the ghastly monsters. You took on the American Dreams, the greatest player of all time. And it had literally a perfect soundtrack. From the song that played from start to finish to the sound effects, it was a game so good. The only way to save your progress was to hold reset before turning the power button off.
Do you hear that? In the distance? A sound. Chugging along. It's your failed argument. You're rushed. You ain't got a plan. You're just the little bald train who says, I think I can. I think I can. You're outdated. You're old news. Okie dokie, boomer. Let me teach you a lesson in gaming, and it starts with this one zoomer. Never come at the greatness. That is BB. We'll put you to school with the backyard kids. Call it BM, but that's where you ought to be.
Kidneys with the fire again. Really putting on quite the show tonight. I have no choice. I have no choice but to answer. So what even is backyard baseball? You watch it, it's like slow motion. It's less natural than a perfect team interpretive dance. The defense is a mess. Good luck ever finding yourself underneath a pop-up to actually make a play. Good luck throwing to the right base. Good luck at them ever resembling anything that looks like baseball. Oh, and you want something for realism here? How about the power-ups? Hit an undergrounder, a big freeze, bust out your aluminum bat and guarantee yourself a home run. It had no history, no playability, and it was no baseball game. All right, that's it. It's time to see who did it better. Poll, I think it went up. Did it go up? Yes, poll is up. So for the next 2 minutes, you will be able to vote on who won tonight. Kidneys, Spittin' Rhymes, or DRC with the truth. Kidneys, how do you feel you did tonight?
I think I absolutely clapped you, unlike last week. So I'm happy to be back in the winner's chair. I was here a lot last season. So
Oh, don't count your chickens. Don't count your chickens, kidneys. The votes are still tabulating. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Now, did you play a ton of backyard baseball?
Yes, I played a ton as a kid. Backyard Baseball 04, I think David Ortiz was on the cover. Absolutely loved it. It was great. Picked it up from Best Buy. I know those existed when I was a kid. And man, it was a good time. We had all the sort of arcade stuff you were referencing. It was just an absolute blast. If you've never played Backyard Baseball, find it online and play it. I mean, this game still holds up today. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I dabbled with it when it came out because the concept was cool, but I mean, playing that game was just torture. It doesn't even look like baseball. People are moving around like robots, whereas
Baseball Star looks like baseball. I'm sorry.
I mean, Baseball Stars was classic. It had infinite replayability. Backyard Baseball was a kiddie game.
I disagree.
All right, we are pulling into the station here with the final vote tabulations, and I am shocked and appalled that it appears that Kidneys is going to take this one by a current tabulation of 38-28 on the votes. That's a margin of victory that leaves me embarrassed for not upholding Baseball Stars' impeccable honor, but we will look to do better next week. And with that, we close out Okay Boomer, Okay Zoomer. Next thing we'll do now is our last 10,000 perfect point giveaway. So let me get that rocking, and then we will get that going. So once you see a notification in the chat, go ahead and type !ticket. And that will get you into the game, and we will pull one winner, and they will join the winners that have already gone tonight and go away with 10,000 perfect points. I think I've got that all set. I'll click start, and we'll let that run for a couple minutes. And so while that is running, let's go ahead and set up our next segment here. And to close out things tonight, we are going to talk about perfect team pitfalls. So this game is complicated. From the game engine itself, which we've talked about at length tonight with BABIP, from the ladder itself, from all the different components. We've got tournaments, we've got perfect drafts, we've got tournaments that win you packs, tournaments that win you points, tournaments that win you cards. We have main league play. We have lineups and sliders and settings of all kinds. And so it's easy to make mistakes. And in fact, everyone that you talk to that picks up this game has made many of them. And so what we're going to talk about here is a brief slice of them. 10 mistakes that we see teams making oftentimes in perfect team that hold them back from optimally climbing the ladder to their ultimate resting spot. So we'll go ahead and close the giveaway down now. So !ticket, last opportunity to get in. 3, 2, and 1. And then now we draw a winner. Tonight, our winner is, and I don't know how to pronounce this. I see circus at the end. I'll just say circus. HRKAC circus. You are our winner tonight. Congratulations to you. The way to redeem those points is to message me on Discord with your perfect team username, appropriate and accurate capitalization, and then we'll get you those perfect points right away. All right, perfect team pitfalls. So I am batting leadoff. Kidneys and I will alternate as we work our way through these. The first one I have for you guys tonight is not using your 3 tournament slots. This is a mistake I see new players make all the time. Those tournaments cost you nothing. And baseball is a game random enough where even if you don't have a perfectly tuned lineup based on millions of plate appearances of observed stats and a regression model that would make API blush, you can still win tournaments. There is no reason not to be spamming those all day, every day. Check out the teams that are doing well in there. Try to pick up some of those players, but it is absolutely unforgivable to not be using your 3 tournament slots because, again, no cost, no downside, only upside. Moving on to number 9, first one for kidneys, and I'll let you take this one.
This one's really important. I see players all the time saying, when I pick in Perfect Draft, I need this on my team, I need that on my team. When you are in the higher rounds of Perfect Draft and your choice is not Tim McCarver, what you need to be doing is just picking the best card on the board. Your team will come together in the later rounds. If you are not taking the best card on the board, I don't care if it's a relief pitcher. There's some times where I've taken Bob Locker and then I've won the Perfect Draft, okay? There's all sorts of really good cards out there, and you should be just trying to squeeze as much value as you can out of the beginning at Perfect Draft.
So that being said, do you, like, let's say you have Ned Hanlon and Cy Young in the first round. Which one are you taking? Do you have a preference as to if you have 2 stud-like cards, which one you're going with first?
I don't actually like Hanlon that much anymore. I would probably take Cy Young, look for a defensive center fielder later. But the number 1 pick in the game is always Tim McCarver, unless maybe it's John McGraw. John McGraw is pretty good, but Tim McCarver is disgusting. Get Tim McCarver.
All right, so that's number 9. We move on to number 8. Not leveraging Discord, message board, and streams. Now, all of you guys are here, and that likely means that this is not you. But if you're someone who doesn't really venture to either the public Discord or private Discords, or doesn't hang out in the message board, or is not actively seeking some of that hive mind to be able to, in a more accelerated fashion, learn this game, learn the things you need to be doing to improve your team, learn and really have open dialogue with others about the best ways to make decisions on players, the best ways to build teams, the best strategies, the best data. Like, I see that channel popping all day, every day. And if you're just completely unsubscribing from that, you are only doing a disservice to yourself. Number 7. What is this? Playing Hack Wilson is a PT pitfall? Explain yourself, kidneys.
I've been getting messages ever since my comments last week about Hack Wilson will not be meta by Perfect League, which I think we're on target for end of June, beginning of July, somewhere like that. And people are like, look at my Hack Wilson. He's hitting 450 right now in Rookie League. Or look at my Hack Wilson. You know, he's hit 30 home runs already. Reality is the card has a lot of power, which is going to be good right now. But as soon as you're playing against a little bit better competition, this card is going to fall off a cliff. He has 40 BABIP. He doesn't hit contact at all. The card has a high eye and a bit of power, and that's really all it's got going for it. It can't field very well. It's just not a great card. And I already am saying the card is not meta because I've been playing nonstop open tournaments, and he is not pulling his weight there. So
the Hack Wilson hate continues at number 7. We move on to number 6. Not using sliders effectively. Okay, so this one does put a little bit of work and time on you. And so I first sympathize and empathize that is something that you have to devote brain power to, that is above and beyond just logging in and checking out what cool cards you open in packs. However, sliders are really important to maximize player value. If you've got a card that is an incredible base runner, if you've got Ricky Henderson, not in this game yet, if you've got Ricky Henderson, you need to be making sure that you are giving him the green light and getting him to steal as often as possible and take the extra base. And if you've got a catcher out there, you need to make sure that they are glued to the bag and never attempting to steal, never trying to take that extra base. By default, all of your sliders are going to be right down the middle, from your team sliders to your player sliders. But I recommend taking a close look at them and starting to tinker. Now, we don't just want to color match here, but color matching is better than doing nothing. And so start to play around with it. They do have some presets there for your team strategies. And then from a player perspective, toy around in there. But as you start getting into competitive tournament rosters, which we are likely entering that zone now where metas are being established and the opportunity to differentiate or just overwhelm with a much better build is going away, sliders will reign supreme. So do not leave them untouched.
Yeah, I think probably a non-extreme way to start is use the moderate sabermetric preset. Just the regular sabermetric preset is a good way to get started if you haven't looked at them before, and then tweak around from there based on what you're seeing with your team. That's what I would recommend.
We move on to number 5. Rushing to complete missions. Kidneys, why is this a mistake?
So, unless you're like me, and you're for some reason competing in open tournaments when you're not really a whale.
Whale kidneys. Call it out. Yeah. We got whale kidneys in the chat.
But there is really nothing to win right now. And what you're doing is you're buying cards at higher prices to put them permanently on your team, and you're really not gaining much out of it. So it's fun if you need something to do and you want to play the game, you want to win. That's what I'm doing right now. I just want to play the game and win. So I don't have a problem with that. But if you're looking to optimize your game to the maximum, it's probably not something I would be doing right this very second.
Very good. Number 5, don't rush to complete the missions. Now, completing them is a great idea, but rushing at any cost to spend 11,000 perfect points on a Filmaton, maybe don't pull the trigger on that one. 4, investing into incremental improvements. And this one might seem a little counterintuitive, but it's a mistake that I made last year and one that I'm going to be careful about making this year. You know, the auction house takes a vig every time you transact. So you buy a card for 50K, turn around and sell it for 50K, you're walking away with 45. And oftentimes incremental improvements to your team, so going from an 82 second baseman to an 87 second baseman, is probably not going to make that big of a difference for you. And so I would hold off. I would recommend against inching your way up, but rather target an impactful upgrade at one position, save up, take however much time it takes to get to that one huge improvement to your team, that one piece that's going to stand the test of time, as opposed to rifling around a bunch of perfect points to bring in players that are only going to get you another inch or two up the ladder. Number 3, challenge packs, kidneys. Tell us about these.
So, if you're newer to the game, you may not know this. You can get a free pack every 72 hours by playing the base game in challenge mode. I really love the base game. I think it's really fun. I would just play it to enjoy myself, and normally I get the pack anyway. If you're somebody who doesn't really care about it, you just play as the 1927 Yankees, sim a season forward, and there you go. You get your free pack at the end of the year, probably. So every 72 hours, the timer starts when you finish the last one. You can get a free pack in challenge mode.
Free packs in challenge mode in the base game. Definitely a way to grind your game economy. All right, we move on to number 2, not setting up logical platoons and bullpen constructs. So this is another thing that I see newer users doing, which is just stuffing your team with a bunch of cool cards, a bunch of cool players, and then just letting the AI set your lineup for you. And you know what? 10 times out of 10, it's going to set a lineup other than what I would do. So you want to be intentional about lining up good versus right batters and your versus right lineup, and good versus left batters and your versus left lineup, and intentional about how all the pieces fit together. You know, who's going to back up my shortstop when my standard shortstop gets tired. You know, how is this rotation going to work? That rotation going to work? In the bullpen, you know, if you've got a card that is really splitty, really dominant versus their same side, let's keep them out of the rotation and get them into the bullpen when they're going to be matched up against their same handedness a whole lot more frequently. So don't just gather a bunch of cards and just stick them in there and let the AI decide. You go ahead and invest that mental capital to try to put the pieces into a puzzle that makes some sense. And Kidneys with our number one PT pitfall.
Yeah. So this one is something that's been driving me absolutely crazy, and I'm going to talk about it right now. If you think that your perfect team is so important that you can tag developers and streamers and at them in the chat and type nonstop about your drops and getting one pack more on your team. If you think you're that important, or your team is that important, or the game is that important, you need to seriously reevaluate what's going on in your life. Because at the end of the day, it's just a pack. It's not a big deal. I understand the free-to-play grind. I've been there, okay? But this is not worth constantly, literally harassing people. I have people come to me and talk to me who've done this, who have been a developer, who have streamed, who have gone, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this because of how often I'm getting harassed about this by you people. So just take it down a notch. Collect your packs in peace. I know the system isn't really fun. It's a little non-explanatory, all right? But just claim them as you go along, and let's move on from this era, all right?
And I do think it's important to point out that the streamers that are on the channel have literally zero control about what's happening or not happening with the drops. It's a Twitch thing. And then if it truly is something that has to do with Out of the Park, that would be a Nico thing. So there's nothing that they're going to be able to do anyway. So I'm with Kidneys on this one. Let's not obsess over the drops. Let's let the chat be focused on whatever the subject of the stream is itself.
Absolutely. I think I know you guys are better than this, as my high school coach would always say. And for sure, this is something we just need to cut out of the community. If you see somebody else doing it, just tell them to stop and let's move on. All right? Thanks.
So is that 2 soapbox moments tonight for Kidneys?
I've had a day, man. I'm a little fired up. All right.
I mean, if you've got a third one, we've got a little time here. If you need to sneak one in.
I'm going to be, and all my hot takes in DRC's Discord after the stream. If you guys would like to hang out, I'll be in there for a bit, and then I'll join my friends in TBD after that. So if you guys enjoyed last week, there was a ton of people that showed up. If you're not in the Discord, get in the Discord. I'd love to see you guys there.
Yeah, so I did just link to the Discord. Kidneys are going to jump in there. You can chat with us. You can ask us any questions that we didn't get to during the stream. Thank you guys all for watching tonight. If you were new, go ahead, drop us a follow. Click the notification icon so you know when we go live. And don't miss a Thursday, because this is the best way to understand what to think about the new cards that are coming into the game. I want to specifically call out some overly generous folks tonight. We had Chuck and West giving out subscriptions. I saw API on some bits, Crash on the bits, Zintali, T-Chuck on the bits. Just incredible support, guys. We really do appreciate it, and it gives us all the warm fuzzies. What else? Sunday on the Out of the Park channel. If you want to learn what we're seeing in main league play, what cards are surfacing up to the top as being the ones you want to own, and the ones that are performing versus left versus right and overall, make sure you join me on that stream. That'll be the first stream of its kind. And Kidneys, you have any upcoming streams or anything you want to talk about tonight?
No, I
point people to the VOD.
Actually, I did an interview with Chris Jardine, the guy who talks before us. If you don't know him by name, Snaggle J. I did an interview with him last week on my channel, twitch.tv/yourkidneys. Go check that out. I'll be streaming again sometime soon. My health has been a little low right now. I'm a little tired, so probably not sometime this week. But after that, I'll be back. I'll be doing my show, The Meta, probably on sometime Monday, and probably I'm going to start streaming some Perfect Draft too, because I'm really enjoying that as well.
Nice. So that's going to do it for us. We will see you guys next week for another episode of This Week in Perfect Team. If you have a suggestion for the topic we should do in OK Boomer, OK Zoomer, throw it in the Discord that we linked there. DM me. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys all for watching, and we will see you next week.